So that dropped May 13th on a Friday. I'll never forget. Friday the 13th.
Okay.
And I was going through, I think I had just finished my third round of chemo. So that was like, I was in the thick of it. That was like the worst round yet too. So it was really nice to like have that drop and see all the support from the part, and it really uplifted my spirits. And I was just like really fucking stoked that it came out the way that it did. And then, you know, a couple more weeks later, finished my last round and then started off moving forward again. You know, I was still skating through all of the process of like my health issues with cancer, but that was like definitely a pinnacle time where I was like definitely down and out, you know?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure that could get to you. Explain what kind of cancer was it?
So I had testicular cancer.
Okay. And I have a question because like, I don't think, I mean, I'm not really too sure of it, and maybe other people out there don't really know. How do you know that you had cancer?
So I found out from my dog, to be completely transparent.
Your dog?
Yeah, my dog, like I just got her. It was like 3 months of having her. Literally, like I found out pretty much a week after New Year's.
Okay.
And yeah, so she stepped on my nuts. She was like running and jumping over me and stepped on my nuts. And I was like, yo, that really hurt. And my girlfriend at the time was down from Canada chilling with me. And, you know, we did our thing in the bedroom, and my shit.
Watch TV.
Yeah, sure.
Netflix and chill.
And,
Netflix and chill.
yeah. Yeah, pretty fucking much. And no, I'm celibate. I haven't had sex.
Oh,
what do you mean?
That's what I assumed. Yeah.
So no, but it flared up, and it felt like someone was grabbing it with a vice grip, and I was like, yo, this has never happened, you know? And I was like, okay, like the trauma from the dog, and then that, I was like, there's something going on, you know? And then ultimately, like, she's like, you need to go get that checked, like ASAP. So I went the next like couple days after, because I wanted to see, like, you know, I was feeling around down there, and there was a slight bump on it, and I was like, okay, what the fuck was that? Just like from like me getting hit years ago, getting sacked on a rail, or was it just from the dog, from the trauma of just like getting hit? But ultimately went to go get it, walk in, they're like, hey, you need to go get an ultrasound. Went and got an ultrasound, and then they're like, yeah, you're gonna get your results in like 2 to 3 days. And I was like, okay, cool. Literally 2 hours later, they called me like, you need to go to the specialist immediately.
Wow.
And I was like, oh fuck, awesome, you know, like what is this, you know? So then a couple days went by, finally got an appointment. I could, like, no one would take me at first. They're like, oh yeah, like you got to be on a waiting list for like a month. And I was like, the ultrasound people said it was urgent, like I need to get this looked at immediately, please. So I went in around like February 3rd to go to my specialist appointment. So this was almost a month after finding out all this shit was going down, you know, because of how the doctors work sometimes.
Yeah, but still, that's not even good for your mental state. Like, there's still ultrasound people, I need to get in here, but now they're saying, oh, well, hold, there's a waiting list.
Yeah,
like,
well,
come on.
It is what it is. So I ended up finally going to the specialist, and they were like, okay, we're looking at the screens. This could either be benign, which is like non-cancerous, but you still need to take it out, or you have cancer. So they were like, okay, we're going to schedule for March 3rd to have surgery and just take it out, you know, and we could replace it with like a fake one, and you still have the same whatever, you know,
Yeah.
or, you know, you can just keep the one nut. You're fine.
Okay.
So I ended up actually was like, okay, cool. Sounds good. March 3rd there. That was on a Thursday when all this went down. That following Monday, which was like the 7th, I'll never forget. They're like, okay, yeah, hey, we actually got an opening. Can you come in February 10th? And I was like, yeah, okay, sounds good. So went in 3 days later, had surgery, found out it was cancer. And then, yeah, I ended up after surgery, I like started to like slowly work on like my scars and everything. And then they were like, okay, you have to come in for like 3 weeks after post-surgery, see like your blood levels, see if everything's gone, get scans. Did that. And then they're like, hey, your AFP markers, which is your alpha fertile protein markers for tumors, it's still elevated, and it shouldn't be as elevated as it is. So we're going to wait 2 more weeks and give it a 5-week break. And then if it's still elevated higher than it should be, you're going to have to do chemotherapy. And obviously, as you know, waited 2 more weeks, it was still elevated, and it didn't really go down, but it still went up like a 0.5. So like, it was like really like, you know, but they're like, you need to do chemo.
Oh, wow.
So then Yeah, ended up doing chemo. Started March 28th, and then how chemo works is every cancer is different to where you have different procedures and different like schedules. But mine was an erratic one to where like we had to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. So I had to do 4 rounds, and each round consisted of 5 days on, which was like a 4 to 6 hour chemo bag every day, and then you get 16 days off.
Oh wow!
So yeah, started March 28th, and then I ended on my last day of chemo was June 3rd, and then yeah.
So you're going in for tests every once in a while to see how where your levels are at, right?
Yeah, well, essentially like they do blood work the first day of chemo to see where you're at, and then after your 2 weeks break as well, then they do more blood work. So you got to go in a little early, and then after my first round, all of my AFP markers and everything was gone. Like it diminished to where it was perfect.
Wow.
But you still have to do the 4 rounds, because if you don't, it could come back. So like they had to literally like just kick my fucking ass, you know?
Wow.
So yeah, I was like, all right, I'm in the belly of the beast. I already did 1 round. Like, it's how bad could it get, you know? So did my first round. Second round was gnarly, but it wasn't too bad. And then the third one, that's when it really like, kicked the shit out of me. And then the 4th round, I was just so relieved that this was the last 5 days that I was just so hyped.
I can imagine.
I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like going in there like just yelling at the top of my lungs. I'm like, ow! Like, fuck yeah! 3 more days! 85%, baby! You know, like just so hyped.
I'm
and
sure.
then, yeah, it was done with. And then, yeah.
Wow.
And like there's 2 other ways of doing chemo as well. Like you can get like this thing that's like a butterfly injection in your arm, and then you just have this thing dangling for like the 3 months or however you're doing your chemo, or you get a port installed into your chest.
Okay.
So I had like this scar here, like where they implanted a port, and then that port had like a wire that went through my esophagus and my neck and it went to my heart. So then that was like how I had to do chemo every day.
How do you activate that?
It's just literally
automatic?
No, it's just literally like this small injection, or not, well, it's like literally a silver dollar, like what it is with the wire connected, and then it just helps save your tissue from getting stabbed by the needle every day.
Sure.
So it heals faster.
So is it constantly giving
every day? I'm getting pricked and getting fucking. Then I get the bag like taped down, and then I just sit in this big comfy chair.
Oh, it's a port.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's literally like a port. So it's like a. I don't know how I want to call it.
Like a USB port.
Yeah, perfect. Sure.
Well, they put it in your body, though, right? They put it inside of your.
It was inside of my chest, so when it was like sticking out. So like every time I looked down, I'd be like, "This is fucking nuts," and I could feel the wire through my neck.
It's like you're a cyborg.
Really?
Yeah. No, I felt insane. Like it was crazy. Like, and you still see the scar here where like it went under my collarbone, and like that's how they had to push it through, and then it went through my like they directed it.
Modern medicine.
Yes,
how do they figure that?
technology.
And why are they putting a port to your heart? Is that where it's being administered?
Well, yeah, they
Spreads to the blood.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's straight to the bloodstream to where it's actually more effective going through a port rather than just going it through your arm. So, yeah, they like said, you have 2 choices. You can do this or that. And I was like, just give me the most effective. I don't want to deal with this shit ever again.
Yeah.
And like going back to it, like even after my first round, how everything was perfectly normal. If I didn't do all 4 rounds, I could have actually got cancer again. So that's why they're like, you need to stick with this and do all 4.
Right.
You know?
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Were you skating during this whole process?
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I
love that.
That was the only thing that kept me mentally sane and physically like good. You know, like obviously going through that type of treatment and process, you typically lose a lot of weight, you know, when you're going through all of these things. And the doctor specifically, like I don't smoke weed, and the doctor specifically told me smoke weed, eat edibles, just build an appetite, because you're already so thin and in shape that like you don't want it, like the chemo to like disintegrate your bones and like be malnourished.
Interesting.
So I smoked weed throughout my chemo process, and I actually gained 25 pounds.
25 pounds?
Yeah.
You were pretty big. I was like, damn.
I was chunky. I was chunky.
And that's just from snacking.
It was healthy.
Yeah. Well, I was eating somewhat good, but like every day, right as I was going to chemo, I made a big smoothie, and then I'd eat a bunch of other food when I'm at chemo, and then when I get home, I make some other food, or I go grab like tender greens or a bunch of other spots, you know, just to like try and give me some type of vegetables. But he's also telling me, he's like, you have no like you don't have any restrictions on your diet.
Okay.
Go to McDonald's and Wendy's in the same day. It doesn't fucking matter. Just eat. Eat, like
they want to keep your weight on.
Yeah, they're like, just do whatever you're craving and just have fun. You want to McFlurry 3 times a day? Please do so.
If the machine's working.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it had been a little while since you indulged smoking too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Sense. Yeah. I like I said, I haven't smoked weed in a couple years now, to where it was definitely like a trip, but ultimately, when I was smoking weed and going through that, I was like, I don't know what's like, is it the weed that's fucking tripping me out, or is this the chemo? Like, because again, like I haven't smoked, so I don't.
It was probably the weed for sure.
Yeah,
just getting that like tolerance back, so to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like I'm high as shit right now.
I know you start thinking crazy shit, especially when you take a big break, bro. Like,
I'm sure it was both, going through chemo and the weed. You know what I mean?
Well,
a little bit of both, 100%. But you know, it was just times to where like, I still, like, when I had my 2-week break, because obviously when I was on chemo, I just sat at home and watched TV. But when I had my 2-week break, every time I finished the round, it, like I said before, it was just getting worse and worse and worse. So like the first couple days after my first round, I was like just constipated and like I couldn't shit, you know? Wow. And like when I did, it was like little pellets, like rabbit, you know, like it was crazy. And then I ended up like bouncing back from that, and then I felt really good, so then I went and skated, and then I would go to the skate park every day for at least an hour just to like skate at NoHo Park and just do flat ground, hit the bank, and just like try and just like mentally stimulate my body and physically to where like I still felt like I was accomplishing something and I was on the right track to being better.
But also not only that, is just getting the sunlight and just being out and active.
Vitamin D was a huge thing too. They're like, yeah, if you can be out in the sun, cool, but don't be out too much because you could also catch skin cancer.
Right,
you know, because literally your white blood cells, like when you're on chemo, you're killing all your blood cells.
You.
So like they're like, you need to pick the times to go. So I would always go at sunset.
Okay.
And I just go for an hour. You know,
I'm curious what the doctors said about activities while you're going through this.
It's like do whatever you feel is, just don't overwork yourself, but just do whatever feels good.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, like I'll just go to the park for a little bit, sunset vibes, cruise. Yeah. If I'm not feeling it, I just leave, you know. But like I said, I just was so horny to skate that I just fucking, I was like, I'm going through some shit. Like the only thing that helps me is skating. Like I need to just do what I got to do, you know? So
where is that like button, right? Is it right here or right here?
Just a little scroll coming down the bottom.
It's
subscribe
over to, it's on your
left.
Right? No, on your left.
Hey, hit that button right there.
Right there.
Right there.
Please.
The like button's kind of like in the middle there. It's like we're kind of like
it's like right here?
Kind of.
Like right there?
The subscribe's like over to the left.
It's like right over there. All right.